Thanks for joining us today for another Kickstarter conniption. Today we're looking at Core Clash from Boar Studio.
As always, we want to make sure you're aware that our Kickstarter conniption videos are sponsored in part by our Kickstarter backers and by the creators of this game. Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sarah Meadows, and today we're previewing the game Core Clash from Boar Studio. This is from designer Elroy Chung, and art is by Patrick Suen.
It's a 2 to 4 player dice miniatures battle game that takes an hour to 2 hours to play based on your player count. We were able to get our hands on a prototype copy, so let's take a look at how it's played.
To set up the game, randomly lay out the grid tiles for your player count.
Place out the building and mountain miniatures according to the icons, and have players select 3 robots that they will use for the game, and then populate them with health tokens and markers.
Have each player place 2 of their robot miniatures in their starting corner and reserve the 3rd one for later in the game. On their turn, players will roll 5 action dice. They may re-roll 1 of them, and then they must assign them to different actions.
Spending their dice on movement will allow them to travel around the board, and passing through occupied terrain will cost them double.
They may activate any of their robot's basic attacks, and then they may use 1 weapon each turn as well.
When activating an attack or weapon, players will first check their range, and then their accuracy to see if they deal damage. Players will roll dice equal to the number on their activation die, and for each die that matches the activation die, they will deal damage.
Players can use matching die to also power their cumulative energy, which they can spend on later turns to improve their abilities.
In the advanced mode, players can use higher level robots, weapons will spawn on the board that players can attach to their bots, and a number of passive abilities and board effects are added as well.
When one robot loses all of his health, the player's other bots can be upgraded.
If a player loses all of his bots, he loses the game, and the last robot controller standing is the champion in Core Clash. In Core Clash, players act as controllers over these cool transformer-looking robot things that they're able to do battle against one another on the field with. Each robot has kind of its own set of special abilities that will be triggered by die faces. So as players play the game, they'll be rolling numerous sets of dice each turn, hoping to be able to roll exactly what they need in order to blow their opponents to smithereens.
Yes, they also have varying health as well. Some of them are able to, once they run out of health, it has a blue token that allows you to respawn all the health that's on their card, and so they basically get double of what their health tokens are. So all of that is balanced though, so bots that have higher abilities that can do a lot of damage, sometimes their health is a little bit weaker, so picking those bots at the beginning of the game is crucial in how you do in the game.
Yeah, so the board layout is random every time. You're going to be playing a 2 to 4 player game, so as you play higher player counts, you'll obviously be interacting more and doing a lot more battle. And once you play the advanced mode, you'll also be having kind of spots on the board that you'll want to visit because new weapons will spawn each round that you'll be able to attach to your bot to improve his abilities. As you play the game, players will be trying to just basically be strategic in their positioning because you are going to be able to only fire in certain locations based on the range of your robot. So there's a little bit of a placement strategy to start off with each turn, and then what die did I roll that will give me the most powerful shot off of which character.
Yeah, and you aren't guaranteed that you'll actually be able to attack the other player when you use a weapon or your attack abilities. You'll roll those other dice, and however many that die faces. So sometimes you may be rolling 1 or 2, and you have to roll that matching number to be able to do the ability. Sometimes you'll be able to do additional hits based on that die roll if you can roll a lot of that number, but there's always the chance to set them aside to be able to activate that energy chart.
A lot of the different weapons are used in different ways. Some of them also have like an AoE effect where you might be able to blow up a big space, but if your allies or your own self is in that space, then you'll also take damage as well. Players can use the successful hits that they roll to either inflict additional damage on their opponent, or they can use that cumulative health track where basically they're powering it up, and that might allow them to do things like re-roll the dice or deal additional damage on the turn. It's really a hard decision most of the time to decide between, do I deal the extra damage to this guy, or am I going up on this chart and trying to give myself future advantage?
Yeah, there's also shields that you can obtain in the game. Sometimes characters will start with one, and sometimes you'll only be able to gain them later on if you have a bot that has been eliminated from the game. And then another feature that some of the bots have, their attack is a push or a pull. So depending on if you're near other types of terrain, you may be able to push them or pull them into other terrain, and sometimes into other bots doing damage to all of them. Sometimes it's worth having one of them being pulled into yourself, where you may take a damage as a sacrifice, but you may be able to inflict additional damage that way.
Finish them off. And the
Yeah.
board does come with some terrain as well. As you saw in the B-roll, we've got those mountains and the buildings. The buildings actually can take 2 hits each, and so you're supposed to replace like an undamaged building with a damaged building once it takes damage, and you can actually remove those off the board entirely. The game kind of starts off with you strategically moving around, but then by the end of the game, you've cleared it of most stuff, and it's just, you know, a battle of attrition to like, oh, he's got 2 health left and I got 1. Who's gonna roll the magic number first?
Yeah, but this sounds like something you're interested in. You can check out Core Clash on Kickstarter now. And then thanks again for checking out our videos here at Tantrum House. Thanks for subscribing and commenting below.